Welcome back to the Dirty 11s. This is episode 4, I believe. Today we're gonna do something, I guess it's a little bit different. What we're gonna do is go back in time to a time when my first time driving a Huracan, and give you some of my impressions of the car at that point. And you know, some of those impressions actually stuck. Those initial impressions are why I decided that this was going to be, you know, my halo car in terms of purchase and what I was going to go after.
Without ado, she's coming up. I'm going to be taking some of my last drives this morning. We're going to try to take get some good critiques and go from there. Let's get after it. I want to give some final impressions of the Lamborghini, getting ready to give it back. I've heard that it is annoying, and I would agree that every time you change from Corsica, you go for it. It starts up in Strata. You change it to Sport. You change it to Corsa, but then on startup, it doesn't go back to the same place that you left it. So every time you get in the car, it's like part of the things you do. You got to crank the car up, got to change the mode to Sport. Additionally, when you change the display, after you get out, you got to go change the display again. So it just comes up as a particular type of display when you first get in, and then you got to change it every time you get in. I mean, it's little annoyances. You know, the thing that I have come to understand really is that you really don't buy the car for those kind of things. That those really mean nothing. Turn signals, massively annoying. As I got more comfortable with the car, I kind of got more used to it, and so you got to start thinking ahead of time, like when you turn, or put on the turn signal rather, because once you start turning, you can't find this little turn signal because the wheel is moving and it makes it a moving target. So that's another thing. You know, those are the critiques of the car. Dealing with the AC, it's a learning curve on that, because it's not very intuitive. A lot of double pushes on buttons in order to get things to work. I mean, once you know how to work it, then it's fine. But it's not intuitive. It's not intuitive in terms of the windows, making the windows go up and down. It's exactly opposite. And what's more weird about the windows and that whole situation is all the buttons don't work in the same way. So, you know, you want to make the car go up, you pull the up button, but then if you want to make the windows go up, it's kind of hard to actually put into words. I'll try to do a better job of that a little later. But at the end of the day, it's not intuitive. Either way, you're still fiddling around with it. That's my point. You're always fiddling around with stuff because it's not necessarily that intuitive when getting in it. But you know, maybe it shouldn't be intuitive if you're in a Lamborghini. Maybe it should be something that you got to study a little bit, which I get. I mean, that's fair. You know, getting in and out of the car, it's not necessarily that hard. It's fairly easy, to be honest. You know, there's a lot of attention with the car. The car is just so dramatic. When I was in the car, it just, you know, all the popping and crackling and rev matching and everything else, all that fun stuff that happens in the sport mode is great. Strata mode is basically grocery getter mode. It doesn't do all of that. It's not even dramatic, and it's really, really, really smooth. I can't say enough about how easy it is to work the car in and out of small parking lots and everything. The car feels small. The car actually feels smaller than really what I think it is. In terms of moving it in and out, reversing it and everything else, the car feels really, really small. When I'm driving it, I feel like I know where all the corners of the car are. And, you know, maybe that's a dangerous thing, because I gotta tell you, it feels so small when you get out of it. It looks like it's a much bigger car than what you're driving in, and maybe it's because the cabin space and everything that's in here is relatively small. the thing that it is, and I can't say it enough, I'll probably say it a million times, I have to edit out some of it, is the turn in on the car. When you on a bumpy road, if I turn and I'm going, through an intersection at 40 miles an hour with a gradient turn, the roads are bumpy, the car holds its track like it's nobody's business. I feel like I have the ability to go around through that kind of thing at 50, 60 miles an hour. I mean, that is wow. When I'm doing that inside the NSX or anything else, she's walking a little bit with the back end in bumps. This is again what I'm trying to say, is that these are going over bumps in a turn. Most cars are walking a little bit because just the way the suspension's set up, and maybe the firmness of the suspension makes the car walk a little bit, but this car doesn't. It sits in the pocket of where you turned it, and it just goes and scoots. When I had it out up in the mountains, the undulations, like it wanted to stay pretty much glued. And I was a little timid with it. I wasn't pushing it to its limits, but at the end of the day, it stayed really glued. And it doesn't matter how hard I hammered it or where I hammered it, the back end really stayed down. It was really controlled, and nothing got squirrely ever with the car, which is great. I'm not a race car driver, and I don't purport to be, but I'm the guy who's gonna buy a car like that, and there's gonna be a lot of people who are not race car drivers who get a car like this. And when I say that it's fairly tame and docile, I mean it really is. It is under control. So it makes you feel pretty confident. I can see how people could really wrap themselves around a tree, because I tell you, it makes you feel probably more comfortable than you should be at the given speeds. When I was cruising in the car, 80 miles an hour feels like 50 miles an hour in this car, which you would kind of expect with most cars. It's just so stable and so under control. It's pretty amazing, and I pretty much had the top down the entire time. The top up, I thought it would feel more cramped than it did. Really didn't feel that cramped. Granted, I'm 6'2". It touches my head, but I mean it's soft. I didn't have any real issues with that. And again, I think that this version of the rental, the seat is kind of jacked up a little bit, so the seat doesn't perform like I know that they perform, because I've sat in cars in a dealership that the seats went through their full motion. So again, those are some impressions that I have. The braking is great. It hauls you down fast with no real issues, no pulling, really anything, and then you can just get right back on it. But the important part I would have to say is this: when I was with the car, braking is not necessarily an issue because I'm carrying speed most of the time. I know that seems weird. In the 24 hours that I've had this car, and I've put some miles on it in this 24 hours, not a whole lot of braking was going on. Not a whole lot of braking. So I think that's a testament to the car, because you can carry speed through turns, through everything that you want to do. You can carry speed pretty easily. There's no chirping. I've not chirped the tires on this car once in the entire time that I've had it. I've been driving the car. So that, again, that's another testament to the tires, again, and to the handling. And I think that that's what this car is about. You're paying, upwards over $200,000 for handling that is, you just can't get it. So that's my impressions. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I know people need to see faces like mine doing things like this with cars like this, and so that's going to be the effort. So enjoy yourself. God bless you all, and let's get after it.